Hello and welcome to the Sensual Being Podcast with myself, your host, Jolene Whiting. I have been a pole dance teacher for nearly 20 years. I'm also a yoga instructor, and my favourite pastimes are connecting to my own sensuality, connecting with the world, and connecting with animals as well. In this podcast, you'll find new and inventive ways of how you see yourself, connecting yourself with others, and also how you see and view the world around you. In today's episode, we look at ways to increase our vibrational energy, which will allow us to show up with more appreciation and gratitude, and even reframing some stuff that we cannot change in our lives. Hello, Sensual Being. How are you doing today? I really hope that this podcast today finds you well and in good health, and sending that and many blessings out to your family, loved ones, pets, and everything as well. So, on the note of starting with a little bit of gratitude and appreciation and wishing you well, I also would like to say this episode is very much coming from a place of vibrancy in my life and how I'm feeling right now. So a little bit of background this morning. I'm going through a few things in a few different places in my life, and particularly with my business. And today I have decided to make it a priority that every morning I must, for my own well-being, I must give myself time and put effort in the morning to raising my own vibration. I must do that, because when I do that, I come forward in the rest of the day with so much more love and so much more capability of what I feel I'm able to do and achieve and how I want to show up. It literally, like when the sun comes out through the clouds and just everything seems crisp, glistening, bright, clear. That is how I feel after doing this type of practice. So what I did this morning, I never quite know what's going to happen, but my focus for raising my vibration was the key thing. So it could have gone in a few ways. But what happened this morning was I did some slowing down, breathing, connecting in, grounding to myself. I wasn't grounding on the earth because unfortunately today it's a little bit of a wet day, so I haven't gone outside just yet and done that. But I did a grounding practice of just feeling my body on the earth and connecting in to my body. And then whilst I was making some cacao, I ended up putting on some chanting, and these were like call and response chanting. So it was leading me. So a lot of chanting I actually do it myself using my Shruti box or using a sound bowl. But this, I wanted to be guided because I don't always want to lead. Sometimes I want to be led. And I find that experience a different type of freeing. And that was exactly what I needed today. So for those of you who want some extra chanting, look into Nikki Slade on Spotify or anywhere where you find music. I use Spotify. So I did some chanting, and I think she was using a harmonium, which is very similar to the Shruti box. There was also drumming in there as well with what she was doing. And it really, really lifted me up, and it brought my voice to a whole new place. This is why I love chanting, because I always considered myself somebody who couldn't sing. Always said that. Can't sing. No. And I was very meek when it came to singing. But through chanting over the past year and a half, it has transformed my voice. And it was interesting because last weekend, the regular circle that I go to, again, because I want to be led sometimes, is so beautiful. But the woman who facilitated it, Dee, who is absolutely phenomenal, she put this on and she led some chanting through it. And it was the most amazing experience to be in the room with everybody when they're doing it. It's just electric. But not everybody there, and this is very common what I'm about to say, not everybody there could embrace the chanting for whatever reason. But for a lot of these reasons for not being able to embrace it is because people are so in their head. What do I sound like? And you know what? It's very hard to let go in front of people. It is. And I feel that. I know. I mean, I lead classes of sensual movement meditation and sensual flow, pole dance. And I actually ask people to embrace their body, to touch themselves, to take their time to actually touch their body. This is hard. This is hard. So I do get that. And when it comes to chanting, I always considered myself somebody who could not sing. So I really appreciate where people come from with this. And also there can be other factors that come into play, but that is the most common one. Just being in your head, what am I going to sound like? Rather than just belting it out. The note does not have to be perfect. That's not the point. That's not the point. It's not about singing in harmony. That's not the point. It's about going for it and embracing yourself. And you release so much. But the thing is, when we hold ourselves back during those times, whilst we can get a lot from it still by being in the room with other people doing it and hearing it, we are not fully embracing who we are. And that is so, so important with life. And I feel like the chanting has been the missing piece of everything I've done over the past few years. It's something that has ignited me. Now, even if you are a singer, this is something that will ignite yourself more. I promise. It's definitely something to go down, a route to go down, because it really increases the vibration in your body. And when I say that, I literally mean like during and after it, you will feel like these tingles all over your body. And it is just incredible when you let go. If you try and you're still in your head, it's probably not going to happen because you're restricting yourself, you're holding back. And we need to learn to let go in life, because when we let go and come forward from a place of wholeness, this is when magic happens. And the thing that really came through for me today is reframing, leading with appreciation in our lives. Because when we lead through our lives from a place of expectation, we're expecting things to turn out, we're trying to control the outcome of things. And I understand why. I mean, obviously we all want a happy life, so we all want to try and do the things to make that happen, make us achieve. But when we let go of that and appreciate what we've got now, I'm not saying give up, but when we let go of the outcome and appreciate what we have, the outcome that will happen will become more magical, because you'll be in full appreciation of the moment. Have you ever experienced something where maybe you've got a goal, a target to hit? I mean, releasing weight is one of the most common ones of this. So I'm going to use that, but you can use anything. Like hitting maybe a certain amount of money that you want to earn. You know, you can use it for this as well. So any goal. Have you ever had this experience, or have you ever known somebody or known of somebody to have this experience where they hit that target? They are the certain weight they wanted to be. They've got their money in the bank, what they wanted to have, but they're not happy. Or they still consider themselves poor, or they still consider themselves to be big. You know, I'm sure I'm not alone in knowing this. And a prime example, which is a heartbreaking example, but sometimes we need to learn from other people's stories. Robin Williams, phenomenal man, funny man, hilarious man. And the life, the career that he had was amazing, but it wasn't enough. Now you could argue, like, I don't know the full ins and outs, so I'm not here to go into that, but you could argue maybe there was something from his childhood which told him he wasn't good enough. Maybe it was a parent or guardian or a teacher, and he kept that with him throughout his life. That could have been, I'm not saying it is, but that could have been the way. And that is very common. It's very common in this day and age Even if it didn't come from any of those people that I've just said, just society would deem you not enough. You're not good enough, what you're doing. You need to do more. What are you doing now? What do you do? It's very hard. It's very hard to stay away from this. It's very easy to fall down this pattern, but it can have, the consequences can be catastrophic, and they can shake people to their core. I mean, if you take your own life, it shakes people around you. It shakes people that you never even knew. It really does. It is such a powerful move. And it's heartbreaking. It's earth-shatteringly painful. So this is not I'm not up for negotiating on this. We need to make sure we lead with appreciation in our lives. So when we are faced with things where we need to either reframe something, can we accept something or can we change it? Now, I've been faced with a possible legal battle with my business this year. I have taken the decision not to do it. And I have had legal battles before. And I've won every legal battle I've ever done. But I have taken the decision not to do it because I don't want that amount of pain, negativity in my life. I have decided to reframe my business in my mind. You probably might not even think it looks much different, but I have decided to reframe it in my mind because I am struggling to show up without that reframing. And I don't want that, because the negative impact of that is that I am not appreciating what I've got. And this is why this message to you is so important, because even me, I would deem, I have an amazing partner. I have, my mum lives next door. I'm in good health. I have a lovely little dog. I have my pony who I've had for 30 years. Bless him. Yes, he is on his last legs, but he's had an amazing journey. I've got amazing businesses. I've got this podcast which just fuels me up to share my voice with you, and the conversations that have come back to me on it have been just amazing. So I have an amazing setup, and yet this is still getting me down. Nobody is exempt from negativity. Nobody is exempt from bad people. No one is exempt from people backstabbing. Nobody is exempt from people trying to wreck their business. Yes, I'm talking from experience from 2024. Yes, all of this has been happening behind the scenes. You have no idea. But the way we show up is so, so important. And it's literally life-changing. It's literally life-changing how we show up. Today, if you turn literally your expectation into appreciation, your life will literally change in that moment. You have to keep doing it. But that is how powerful. This is literally one of my favorite intentions. If you know me and know me well, I have said this so many times because it is just so, so true. Because our time here is so precious, and it gets spent on things that don't matter, that don't fulfill us, that don't actually add to our lives. I'm not here to judge you because I do things too, okay? Yes, I don't watch TV anymore, and I'm going to use that as a thing. I still do stuff. I scroll on Instagram. I waste time. We all do. When we can realize that time is the most important thing, we will waste it less. We are human beings in a world full of distractions. Every advert seeks to distract you. Everything is a distraction. Our comparison to other people, other businesses, other ways of life is distraction. It's taken us away from the present moment. And our world is moving so much faster. So what happens is, this is very much a big example of TikTok. I think this might be wrong now. It may have even gone down to 1 second, but I'm pretty sure the optimum length of a video on TikTok is 7 seconds. And that was what I was taught by my social media manager a couple of years ago. She had 7 seconds. And I was like, are you kidding me? Like, that's rubbish. She goes, yeah, but it's where people's attention spans are. And it's like, whoa. So if you imagine, like, you don't need to imagine, I'm sure you've all done it, but when you're scrolling through things and they're short bursts of not even really information, what information can you get in 7 seconds? You can't. Our brain is not being wired to take on, to remember any information. We are just becoming a void by utilizing this technology in this way. When we watch things, I mean, I used to watch Netflix and love it. So this is coming from a time when I used to love Netflix, and I never didn't. I just can't watch it now. I never didn't like it. I loved it. But everything I watched, binge watching things, it wasn't making my brain active. So when I sit down and read a book, if someone interrupts me when I'm reading a book, I can be coherent in a conversation straight away. If I've been scrolling, if I've been watching TV, my mind is being numbed. When I come out of that and try and have a conversation, it's not there because my mind is not being active. This is the difference between like reading and thinking about stuff as you read, like imagining what's happening, you're forming a picture in your mind, maybe of a story, whatever it is. This is the difference between when you watch like TV and stuff, and your brain is not engaging. Again, you're becoming a void, and the world is moving so much faster. There's always something next to watch. There's always a next series. Once upon a time, I mean, I remember when Friends first came out, I remember once a week, there was no Channel 4+1 when it first came out. You had one chance to watch Friends in that week. It wasn't repeated. You had one chance. And the chances are you probably got your friends round and got a pizza in or something, and you sat there and you watched it together. But you watched it at that point. Now, you can watch something at any time. You barely have to wait for anything to really be in a cinema. I mean, new films, big films are getting just released on like Netflix and stuff. There is no waiting for anything. And that's amazing in ways. But it's also making us more impatient. It's making our expectations of things go up. Oh, what, that next series isn't out until like next year. That's really, we are not appreciating what we've got because the expectation is being driven into us so high. And when we live like this and not appreciating now, it can go one of two ways, and it can go both ways. Might not go either way, but I'm going to give you two ways that it can go. If you find that you are getting quite depressed and getting quite down, it can be because you are living in the past. So it can bring us into states of depression because we are not actively being in this moment. Grief can come up a hell of a lot. And grief is not something that you get over. You move forward with it. You do not get over it. But grief, depression, this is stuff that pulls us back into the past. Now, interestingly, I'm not a big advocate anymore of having photos up. I do have some photos left in my house are still in frames, and I have plenty that are in photo albums. But I don't really like having the photos up. And to be honest, my mum kind of taught me this one. Just seeing how she processed my dad passing like 15 years ago. And she had his picture up, and it was in the corner of the room after he had passed. And then since she'd moved and been closer to me about 6 years ago, she doesn't actually have his photo up, I don't think, because she doesn't actually really have any photos up, except of my dog. I think she loves him more than anybody else. But the photos pull her back. And as much as she can appreciate the life she's had with my dad, to be pulled back in that state of grief and loss is very depressive. So to keep her in the now, she doesn't really have photos around. And I took that on a couple of years ago, and I thought, I'm going to give this a go too. And do you know what? Even if they're photos of people who are here now, that time of when that photo was taken, we have a habit of glorifying nostalgia, looking back, oh, wasn't that an amazing holiday? Wasn't that, oh, we should really be going there again? Oh, I'm depressed because we're not there now. Can you see how it pulls you back? But then the other way things can go is if you are a worrier, do you feel anxious? Do you suffer from what they call anxiety? Anxiety used to be a feeling. Now it's a diagnosis. I'm not really sure how that happened. But do you have feelings of feeling anxious? This is living in the future. So again, you're not living in the now. You are living in the future. And when you're living in the future, you're like, what if? What if that happened? And oh my God, honestly, our brain, if you've ever had a nightmare, our brain can go somewhere incredibly dark. So dark. I'm not even going to go down the route of giving any examples there. I don't need to. We all know how dark our mind can be. And again, we are not shining the bright sunshine on the day to day. Even if it's raining outside, this is metaphorically speaking, because the sun can be out and you can be depressed or anxious. Yeah. So we need to shine the light on our own self, on our own life. And even if you are going through heartache and loss, you need to be able to shine the light. And it's hard. It is hard, but you can do it. You can think, do you know what? My heart is beating today. I am here for this person. Appreciation and gratitude does not have to be like I bought the new latest car. It's not that. It's actually very small actions. It's, oh my God, my food tastes good. I have food today. I have food in my fridge. You know, gratitude and appreciation does not have to be big, and it brings you into the moment. What do you have right now? And sometimes it's about taking one step at a time. It's a bit like when you take a long journey and go somewhere. Like say if I go from the south of England up to Scotland, yeah, I don't need to know what every single road looks like. I just need to know I'm on my path and that's where I'm going. Maybe I know where I'm going, maybe I don't. But you have to trust that path will unfold. But even if you think you know where you're going, you don't need to know what every single step of that journey looks like. You just have to take the next step. That's it. You don't need to do anything else. And also, with this as well, our emotional state is not what we want to have driving us. And this is what I've had lately, is my emotional state has been driving my day. This is why I'm trying to shake myself out of it in the morning. Smiling before I get out of bed, releasing the endorphins just by smiling. I tried laughing in bed today just to see if that would work. And my dog decided to jump all over my face. He wasn't really sure what to make of it. So I've decided I'm not going to do the laughing when I'm laying down in bed, because I have a little black spaniel who likes to then jump on my head thinking that there's something going on, unless he was just enjoying it. I'm not sure I enjoyed him jumping on my face. It's funny though, which actually did make me laugh, which made him jump on my face more. But the smiling is one I'm going to come back to in the morning before I get out of bed. And that I found helped to change my state of well-being, how I felt. And you might think, oh yeah, but that's just a fake thing. It's like, if you have looked into like the power postures, the power poses, it's like they say before you go into an interview, you want to sort of stand there with your hands on hips, like maybe out in the car park or something, or before you leave the house, stand there, hands on hips, shoulders back, chest up, chin up, and you do that. Literally, if you're sitting there now, sit up tall, bring your back away from the chair, sit up. I'm literally doing it now. Hands on hips, chin up. And just tell yourself, how do you feel after doing that, even for 5 seconds? This is what smiling does. So obviously smiling is generally a happy thing. So you are literally using body language on yourself to tell yourself how you want to feel. Now, I'm not saying we should go through in life and accept every single thing that comes our way. If there is something, if you're in a bad situation, it isn't the case of just accept it. You need to work out what is the right thing. If, for example, to an extreme, if you are in an abusive relationship or abusive friendship or anything like that, that's not something you accept. That is not what we are talking about here. I'm talking about things that are in your control, or maybe you have to get up an hour earlier every day to go to work or something and you're not happy about it. But can you reframe that? You know, this is what I'm talking about. I'm not talking about, other things that could be changed that are unsafe. Grief is another one. So obviously, I'm not telling you not to grieve. But what I am telling you to do is in those points when you get pulled back, and you can get pulled back years after someone's passed. If you get pulled back into it, that's okay. Accept yourself for being human. But what I want you to then do to move forward is look at what you've got around you. And if you're suddenly living on your own now and you weren't living on your own before because of a loss, that is not a negative thing. You can turn it into appreciation. I have somewhere to live. I have my next meal planned. I have friends who support me. Being lonely is a state of mind. Being alone is not a bad thing. We can make ourselves lonely by using our state of mind. So if we can change our emotional state and how we see things and how we show up, that would change how we move forwards. So when we're looking at changing our emotional state, we need to get out of the head and into the body to make this work. So shaking, smiling, dancing, singing, walking, exercise, going out in nature, moving your body. Sitting down and staying stagnant won't work. You need to move it, even if it's only for 30 seconds. Power pose. Power pose. Go on, do a 30-second power pose every morning. Once you get out of bed, stand there. If you want to up the game, stand there in front of the mirror. You want to up the game more, stand there in front of the mirror naked, and then do your power pose. This stuff is powerful. But a lot of the time it's deemed like silly, oh, it won't work, and stuff like that. Because it works. A lot of the things that get like, oh, you want to do that? That's all woo-woo crap that is, doing all your chanting. It's brought down by negativity because it works. I am living proof that this sort of stuff works. And this is what I strive to do in my life, because anyone can be taken down by feelings of negativity, yeah? And we all have to make an effort. And it's when you realize that you are actually in control a lot of the time about how you feel and how you show up. This is where the power is. I come back to this so much because it's so true. The power of how you show up is down to you. It's not down to anyone else. And it's a bit like, for example, we're so brought up in this modern world with distractions, with things, and just so much. But when you look into maybe some of the real indigenous tribes, you might look at them and think that they don't have anything. They live in shacks sometimes, and some people really don't have much stuff, but they're so happy, and the kids are all happy, they're all playing. And you realize that actually we don't need all this stuff. This stuff is what's making us upset. This is stuff that's what's making us not happy with our lives, not grateful, because we haven't got the next pair of shoes, we haven't got the latest car, we haven't got the next best phone. This stuff isn't real. What's real is community, friendship, love, connection to ourselves and to the people around us. And if you can make it your mission today to do something for somebody else, to cheer them up in whatever way, even if you just say something, even if you send them a message and you go, do you know what? I really appreciate you. I'm so grateful for our friendship. And I would be interested to know if you do that and it makes you feel funny because you're like, oh, these are words I don't normally say. Again, the conditioning, was so conditioned to not use these types of words, but make it your mission to say that to somebody today. Send somebody a message. Once you finish listening to this, or do it now, send somebody a message and say, I really appreciate your friendship. Or I really appreciate how you brought me up. I'm really grateful to have you in my life. Something along those lines. Let me know what you get back, because I bet the response will be this beautiful feeling. This beautiful feeling. It really is. So, yeah, just make it your mission to light yourself up, light other people up, because life is worth it. You are a gift. Your life is a gift. My life is a gift. Our life is a gift, and we must never, ever lose sight of that. So I hope you've taken lots of juicy bits from this episode. Remember, as always, to lead through your life with your heart and to live with intention. Thank you so much for tuning in today. If you enjoyed this episode, please do share it with your friends and on social media. If you have the time to rate or review this podcast, I'd be ever so grateful. If you'd like to follow me on Instagram, you can find me at Jolene Sensual Being. The links to my YouTube and to sign up to my mailing list will be in the show notes as well. I look forward to speaking with you again very soon.